Get some instant analysis. Welcome in former MLB Executive of the Year and CBS Sports Baseball insider Jim Bowden. Jim, I want to start in the top of the ninth because there was a questionable strike three call on Xander Bogaerts. DJ Rayburn makes a strike three call, which was terrible in this situation because potentially the bases could have been loaded after two hit by pitches, but you ring up a batter on a strike there. Your reaction is what? This is why ABS is coming.
Yeah, no question, Hakeem. And the pitcher's clearly below the knees. Look at this. That's not even close to being a strike. And to your point, bases loaded, nobody out. This would have probably had a different result. But let's give the credit to catcher Carson Kelly, who did an incredible job of framing. He brought his glove up so quickly that he was able to beat the naked eye of the home plate umpire. And that's why pitch framing is so important, because you can steal strikes, and Carson Kelly did that. Now, to your point, next year, if we're in the same situation, all we'll see is the batter tap his helmet, and then we'll go to a challenge, and then boom, that will be a ball, and then the bases would have been loaded with nobody out. You probably might have had a different ending as well. But that's why we're going to a different system next year. It's unfortunate for the Padres, but that is the game. And again, we can't take anything away from what the Cubs did to win this game, because it was a brilliant managed game by Craig Counsell. The way he used his bullpen the entire game was special. Mike Shildt did the same thing on the other side. He managed really well, but it was that second inning when Yu Darvish just didn't have anything. And luckily, Shildt took him out before more damage was done, or this could have been a blowout. And so the bases were loaded with nobody out, and they ended up not scoring any more runs. And that was the game right there, Hakeem. That kept the Padres in it until the ninth inning.
5 Cubs relievers cover 5 innings, surrender the 1 run, the leadoff homer to Jackson Merrill in the top of the ninth. And you know how heralded this Padres bullpen was throughout the regular season. Best in baseball. The Cubs bullpen was also good, not best in baseball, but one of the best in the National League, and they win this battle of pens here in this winner-take-all. What can you say about the Cubs bullpen to really stretch it out after a solid start from Jameson Taillon? And I know he didn't go 5 or 6, but you got enough from him as he goes 4 scoreless.
Yeah, I think, Hakeem, if you look at the last month of the regular season, the Cubs bullpen was just as dominant as the Padres. They were 2 of the best bullpens in the game. And the Cubs won this series because their bullpen was a little bit better in Game 3, and they had elite defense up the middle. Dansby Swanson is shortstop, the Gold Glover. Of course, the second baseman as well. Nico Horner went high in the air to take a ball. Later, Michael Busch went up in the air to take an errant throw from Matt Shaw for an out, which was big. So we had 4 elite defensive plays by the Cubs infield. Of course, the Cubs had the best infield in 2025 in the National League, second to Toronto overall. That showed up. But to your point, the bullpen, I mean, Danny Palencia comes in and you just can't hit him. He just throws 100 miles an hour right past you. And then Drew Pomeranz comes in. He does his thing. Then you got Brad Keller, who got a little bit wild in the ninth inning, and Andrew Kittredge had to come in for the 3rd straight day to kind of bail him out. But this bullpen's elite, and this is an elite defensive team. And I've always said, when we get to the postseason in this era, defense and bullpen wins you pennants, and that's certainly what happened tonight with the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, you give a lot of credit to that Cubs bullpen because they shut down the top of the Padres lineup. 0 for 11 in this game. Tatis, Arise, Machado, and Tatis was not the star that San Diego needed in this series. They needed him to step up. You need your stars to step up. He was 1 for 12 in this series, so a lot of the blame will be pinned at the top of that lineup. And I know Machado busted his slump in Game 2 and hit that big home run, but you have to deliver consistently, and here they are again, the Padres. And I know they'll win a playoff series here, but they failed to break through once again. What's next for San Diego? Because you felt like, hey, this could be a year where they make a deep run, and they do not.
Yeah, and look, they've got a lot of free agent pitchers that are going to probably leave that they're not going to be able to afford to bring back. 2 of their best starters, Michael King, who pitched in relief in Game 3 and was brilliant. Dylan Cease, who pitched a really good Game 2 to force a Game 3. Both of them are free agents. And the best closer in the National League, who led the league in saves, Robert Suarez, he's also a free agent. And it's unlikely the Padres, with all of the financial commitments they've given to Tatis, and they've given Machado, and they've given Xander Bogaerts, it's going to be tough to retain any of the 3, to be honest. So there's going to be more changes this offseason. I know the San Diego Padres have to be extremely disappointed They were a team that were good enough to go to the next round. I thought they were evenly matched with the Cubs coming into this series, and you know what? They just felt, just a little bit short. One little bloop there, and you would have had a tie game. Maybe if that ball was called a ball and the bases were loaded, maybe the next hitter, Tatis, would have sat there and done the damage that he hasn't been able to do in this series. So woulda, coulda, shoulda. But the reality is their season has come to a halt quickly.
And Luis Arraez is a free agent in the offseason as well, so going to have to figure out a way to supplement his offense unless he stays in San Diego. A lot of decisions to be made in the offseason. Jim Bowden here with us on CBS Sports HQ as the Cubs move on to face the Milwaukee Brewers. And how about for the first time all time, the Cubs win a winner-take-all playoff game at home. That's the qualifier there because they won a winner-take-all game in a Game 7 in the World Series in 2016 that broke my heart. But here, the Cubs break the hearts of Padres fans as they win it 3-1 and advance to the NLDS to face their NL Central rivals, Milwaukee Brewers. Game 1 is Saturday in Milwaukee. Coming up, we're going to break down that series as well as Phillies and Dodgers, which really feels like an NLCS matchup. The Cubs moving on. Go Cubs, go. Next on CBS Sports HQ. It's October baseball, and it feels so good. Division Series begins on Saturday. Brewers hosting the Cubs. Milwaukee took the division lead from Chicago in July. Never looked back, winning the NL Central and earning the top seed in the National League. Followed by what feels like an NLCS matchup, Dodgers and Phillies. For what it's worth, Philadelphia won 4 of the 6 regular season games against LA. All right, back here with former MLB Executive of the Year and CBS Sports Baseball insider Jim Bowden. The Brewers haven't won a playoff series since 2018. They're going to match up against their division rival Chicago Cubs, who they took the division lead away from and won the division ultimately. But, Jim, why might this year be different for Milwaukee to advance?
Well, the Brewers had the best overall record in Major League Baseball in the regular season, so there's that we can get excited about. This is a team that was third in Major League Baseball out of the 30 teams in runs scored. The Chicago Cubs, though, were 5th. The Brewers were 2nd in stolen bases. The Cubs were 3rd. By the way, the Cubs had the best defensive team in the National League, and the Brewers were top 5 in baseball, so they're pretty even across the board. I think the biggest storyline here of this series is it's Craig Counsell, who left the Brewers so he could get paid more money because he thought he would have a better chance of winning with the Cubs, and now he goes in to face his old team who finished with a better record. Look, Hakeem, these two teams are so evenly matched, but I think when you look at the body of work over the 162 games, Brewers had the best record. Now, I will say this. The rotation's not the same as it was at the beginning of the year. It wasn't the same when we had 3 number 1 starters in Peralta, Woodruff, and Mizorowski. Now you only have 1 in Peralta, and probably Quinn Priester pitching game 2. There'll be no Woodruff here, and we don't know if Mizorowski is going to even be on the roster. That hasn't been decided yet. But look, the Brewers are a really good team of making contact. They steal bases. They find a way to make runs. They make great defensive plays. I mean, they got a plus defender just about every position except left field. And they grind, and they're a fun team to watch. And like the Cubs with Craig Counsell, they have a great manager in Pat Murphy.
Yeah, that will certainly get the headlines, Craig Counsell against his former franchise. But I still think that the Brewers here trying to win a playoff series for the first time since 2018, that will be sort of the subtext, right? It's Craig Counsell facing his former franchise, but it's the Brewers that are trying to break through. In a year, Jim, where we lost the great Bob Uecker, it feels like a lot has gone right. I don't know if you want to call that magic, inspiration, whatever you want to call it, Ueck magic, and I'm all for it. It feels like this Brewers team is a little bit different. The young talent on this team, and as you mentioned, their pitching is good enough to make a deep run.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Bob Uecker because I do believe in the baseball gods, and I do believe Bob Uecker is up there helping the Brewers out somehow, some way. And as you mentioned, look, they do have a really good core. Christian Yelich, the veteran's had a really good season. He's had to deal with back issues for the last several years, but he's had a really good year. William Contreras behind the plate is one of the best offensive catchers in the game. Bryce Terang not only is a Gold Glove second baseman, but this year he learned how to hit and with power. Jackson Chourio, 20 homers, 20 steals for the second year in a row. First 2 years in the big leagues, 2020 club. Pretty impressive. Sal Frelick in right field is a guy that makes great defensive plays, can steal a base, can get the big hit. There is something special about this team. There's no question about it. And look, it's really hard to finish the regular season with a small market team and have a better record than the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and every other big market team. So a lot of things have gone right for this team. They have great leadership. Their GM, Matt Arnold, who was executive of the year a year ago, has a chance to win it again this year. He's done a phenomenal job. So look, it's going to be a great series, but let's be clear about this. These two teams, despite the regular season records, they are almost identical in terms of how they score runs, how good they are defensively, how they steal bases, how good their bullpens are. Both of them have questions in the rotation, right? No Cade Horton for the Chicago Cubs, no Brandon Woodruff for the Milwaukee Brewers. So there's going to be some mixing and matching in this 5-game series, and these managers, they get paid a lot of money. Well, they're going to have to earn it in this series.
The Brewers are slight favorites to win the series at -116. So this is a virtual pick-em here, Jim. Who you got moving on to the NLCS?
Yeah, look, I'm going to go with the Brewers just because, look, they have home field advantage, which really doesn't mean much in baseball, as we all know. But they did have the best regular season record, and they won the division, and the Cubs didn't. So I think it's really close. I mean, if I were to call it, it would be a push. But because I got to pick one, I'm going to go Milwaukee.
All right, well, guess what? The NLCS is guaranteed to feature a team from the NL Central for the first time since 2019. The other NLDS feels like an NLCS matchup, Phillies and Dodgers. I'd be fine if those were the two teams playing for a spot in the World Series. Instead, they're playing for a spot in the NLCS. This is strength on strength. This is star power all over the field, from the starting lineup to the starting pitching to the bullpen to the bench. Shohei Ohtani's going to pitch game 1 for LA. Christopher Sanchez gets the ball for Philadelphia. Who do the Dodgers need in this series to step up, and what do they need from Ohtani in game 1 specifically?
They need bullpen in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning if they're going to win this. They've got the rotation. We all know that. You're sitting there with Blake Snell and Ohtani and Yamamoto and Glasnow. You've got that. You're set. You can even start Sheen if you want. That's not the problem. The problem with the Dodgers has been, and they gave up runs to the Reds even when they swept them. The Reds scored runs on them both games. That's the Achilles heel of the Dodgers. So what do the Dodgers need? They need Roki Sasaki to be a guy in October and to help that bullpen out. Or they need to put Sheehan back there and have him be a guy. Or take another one of the starters and use them back there and be creative. I mean, that's the hole that they have. They're going to be really dominant the first 6 innings with that starting pitching. You know they're going to score runs. When you have 3 future Hall of Famers at the top of that lineup, and Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, and you got length with Andy Pages and Teo Hernandez, this team's going to score runs. They are, and they're going to pitch. But that bullpen will determine if they get to the next round or not. And like you, Akeem, because I agree with what you just said, these are the 2 best teams for me in the National League. Forget the records. They're the 2 best teams. And I think whoever wins this series is going to represent the National League in the World Series.
All right. Well, the Phillies are going to have to rough up Ohtani in game 1. What's the path to a series victory for Philadelphia, which feels like, and people in Philadelphia will tell you, no, it's not closing. It feels like this window is cracked. It's fall. You're getting that nice breeze coming in, and the window is just a little bit cracked. The Phillies' window is right there. This is it. So what's the path for them to make a deep run and get back to the World Series?
Yeah, well, they're going to miss Zach Wheeler. Of course, he's out for the year. That was their ace, and that's the guy that's always pitched big in October. They're going to miss him. But if they can pitch with the Dodgers for the first 6 innings, and Christopher Sanchez is capable, so is Ranger Suarez, so is Jesus Luzardo, so is Aaron Nola. They're going to have to pitch with the Dodgers' great starters those first 6 innings. I think the fact that they have 3 lefty starters going against the Dodgers is an advantage. Remember, LA does not have Will Smith, and they are more left-handed than they are right-handed around the diamond. So for the Phillies, if they can pitch with the first 6, they're going to have a slight bullpen advantage late in the game, and then they need their stars to be stars, Akeem. They need Trey Turner, who led the league in batting average. They need him to create traffic. And then they need Schwarbombs from Kyle Schwarber, who is going to finish top 3 in MVP voting. They need Bryce Harper to do what he normally does on the October stage and be heard from. But the key to me is going to be, can their starters pitch with the Dodgers starters those first 6 innings? If they can be tied or ahead after 6, the Phillies can get to that next round.
And I'm going to argue that Kyle Schwarber should win NL MVP over Ohtani, but that's for another day and another segment. Let's get your pick to win this series. The reigning World Series champions are the favorites to win this series. Do the Phillies pull off the mini upset?
Phillies have home field advantage. Bottom of the 9th. Game 5. Schwarbaum, walk off. Phillies go to the next round.
Wow, that's pretty specific. All right, I'll take it. I mean, I'm going to take that. If you want to give me some drama, I'll take it right there. Jim Bowden getting us ready.
I love October drama, and there's nothing better for me, the memories of playoff games when somebody hits a game-winning home run to either win the World Series, thank you, Joe Carter, or to take your team to the World Series like Aaron Boone did with the Yankees with his home run. There's nothing better, so let's have it happen this October, too.
Yeah, let's have ourselves a postseason. Just a friendly reminder, Jim and myself will be with you post-game for every series here on CBS Sports HQ, breaking it down, getting you set for the next round. Jim Bowden here with us on HQ. Jim, thank you. It's always good to talk ball with him, and we're going to be talking plenty of ball throughout October. As you take a look at the playoff history between these two clubs, the Phillies have won the last 3 series, and the last 3 series were all in the NLCS. It's why I said this really feels like an NLCS matchup, but it is not. The winner advances to meet the winner of the Cubs and Brewers. It all begins Saturday in Philadelphia.